Hello, it's David again with my friend Brian Stutzman, who is he and his wife run just from the goodness of their heart and for the building of the kingdom of God, the Nauvoo Martyrdom Museum, and which of course is in Nauvoo, and it's a big deal this time of year. There's a lot going on in Nauvoo during the summer, and in particular, uh, in 6 days is the anniversary of the martyrdom of Joseph and Hyrum Smith. And so, anyway, I just wanted to give Brian a chance to kind of refresh everybody's memory about what's going on in Nauvoo this time of year and what's going on at the Nauvoo Martyrdom Museum and what's going on in terms of the very interesting things that Brian knows. He's been researching and learning about the martyrdom of Joseph and Hyrum and the whole context and of that for many years. And so I just appreciate the opportunity to have you on, Brian. And if you want to just go ahead and share whatever you think
Yeah.
would be edifying to hear and informative, let us know what's going on.
Well, thank you, David, for having me again. Yeah, this year becomes a little more special. There's a new visitor center just across from the temple. So people who have come to Nauvoo in the past, they have a reason to come back. Elder Garrett Gong will be here dedicating that Saturday, June 27th, the
Wow.
visitor. And it's my understanding that they're also have been restoring the Brigham Young home, and it should be ready also to be dedicated the same day
Yeah.
by Elder Long. I had some people in here the other day that were working on it, and I didn't get a definitive answer whether they were going to be completely ready with the Brigham Young home. But the visitor center, they've already done some pre-tours. I've had friends in there. It's beautiful. And again, it's right across from the temple and actually north slightly, but it's on the same block. There's a statue of Joseph and Hiram on horses when you
Wow.
walk out of the temple looking toward the river. And this is just a little bit to the north, probably 100 feet, no, maybe 100 yards. So we are in Nauvoo for the summer. 3 years ago, my wife and I bought the building that we're in right now, and we worked on it for a year. And we are open in the summers, and we have a no charge Martyrdom Stories Museum because we like to tell people about the restoration of the gospel and the martyrdom of the prophet of the restoration and some details, Joseph and his brother, the patriarch Hiram, and some details that occurred that most people have never heard of. We also highlight three important people in my mind. One is Dan Jones, and we've talked about him before. Dan Jones received the last prophecy to a person that Joseph gave, and it came absolutely true in so many ways. He was the greatest missionary of the Restoration, and he has a remarkable life story. That the second person is the Eliza Graham story, and we've talked about her before. the
Sure.
the night of the martyrdom, about 60 people met at a restaurant south of here called the Warsaw House. That building was destroyed in 1899. There's a new building over the top of it now, but she was 18 years old and she served the mob that night, and it was absolutely incredible. She was a member of the church. They didn't really realize it, and they were bragging about killing Joseph and Hiram. She memorized who said where, what they said, and how they said it. And the night of the next year, there was a trial. 5 people stood trial, and Eliza Graham, now age 19, was the star witness for the prosecution, telling the jury who said where, what they said, and how they said it. And she ended up coming to Salt Lake, and then she lived south of Evanston, Wyoming, and died in childbirth there with her fourth daughter, and she's buried south of Evanston. And
Wow.
then the third person we highlight here is Samuel Smith. Samuel was the younger brother of Hiram and Joseph, and he died 34 days after the martyrdom. And many people feel like he died of injuries received from some activities he had, riding back and forth and getting sick, and some things. And that's probably an hour story in and of itself. So those are the three. But I'll tell you one of the most popular items here, and I brought this out here. This is a reproduction of a pepper buck 6-shooter gun. Joseph and Hiram were just being held for a hearing. They had posted bail on the charge of riot, and then somehow they recharged them on the charge of treason against the state, for which there was no uh, bail allowed. So they had Joseph and Hiram, as Frank Worrell said, right where we want him. Frank Worrell was one of the guards at Carthage jail, the Carthage Greys, and they put him in the bedroom. He couldn't leave. Joseph and Hiram couldn't leave. So one of his friends, Cyrus Wheelock, snuck in a pepperbox six-shooter, and before that, Fulmer brought in another gun. So Joseph actually had two guns with him the day of the martyrdom. And people say, "Can you have a gun and be a martyr?" Well, if you look up the word martyr, it actually means religiously, it means witness. And it doesn't mean that you crawl under a table and let a mob kill your brother and try to kill John Taylor and kill you. That's not what a martyr is. So sometimes people get that a little mixed up. So there's accounts that as the mob came up and killed Hiram, Joseph actually opened the door and shot six times down the stairs, and three shots jammed and three shots went off. That fall, nine people were actually indicted. And the next spring, five people showed up at the trial. It was said that the people that disappeared, there was four people out of the nine that disappeared. Three of them had received wounds from Joseph's gun, and if they would have went to the trial, their wounds would have showed that they were in Carthage that day. And then, of course, I told you the story of Eliza Graham. Some of our visitors here don't realize that Joseph Smith was running for president. He was the first presidential candidate assassinated a full 21 years before Abraham Lincoln. And one of Joseph's main platforms was to free the slaves. And he had a brilliant
Right.
plan of how to do that. And it would have saved the country a civil war, as well as hundreds of thousands of lives lost. Um, he A lot of historians will say that Joseph's murder or martyr was more political than religious. They were afraid of him politically. Henry Clay was running against Polk at the time. It was Clay's third time to run, and this phrase, the campaign slogan was "Make way for Henry Clay," and they were trying to make way, get everybody out of the way of Henry Clay, that was his political opponents. The There's some accounts that show that Joseph was very much alive when he left the window and hit the ground alive, and four people lined him up by the well there and shot him in a firing squad manner, led by a man named Levi Williams. Ironically, the court case was called The People versus Levi Williams because people in Carthage in 1845 believed Levi Williams had been responsible for the murder of Joseph Smith by the well. So people who think that somehow Joseph died up in the bedroom, that um, there's a small faction of people that try to perpetuate the old claim that Brigham Young was somehow behind it. No, Joseph didn't die up there. He died by the well, and there are accounts that testify that. Um, One of the other unique things about where we're at, we're right on Mulholland. We're a block from the temple. If any of your watchers, any of your viewers, I should say, are coming to Nauvoo before August 1, put us on your agenda. If you have friends or family that are planning or are already in Nauvoo, send them over. We're open from 9 to 9. We're just down from the fudge shop across from the old Hotel Nauvoo, and toward some of the restaurants here. We're clipping about double the amount of people we had last year.
That's
Uh, we've got
wonderful. That's so
we've got
great.
some new signs.
So you're
So
you're about twice as busy as
yeah,
last year.
and we yesterday we had three groups of non-members,
That's wonderful.
and
That's
some of them are just taking a day trip and they don't even know that we have the historic sites that church operates. And so that's kind of the icing on the cake when somebody kind of comes in, and a lot of times they'll just ask, where's a good place to eat? And we have a new restaurant down the street called the Crazy Iguana. It's kind of like Cafe Rio. And
yeah.
then we've got a barbecue place and Annie's Custard and two hamburger places behind me. But then, they come in, and so I start chatting with them where they're from. If they're within like a couple hours, then we get into a little bit more. Have you been to Nauvoo? What brought you here? And a lot of times they're just non-members, and they don't even know. The first thing they ask about is the temple and when it was that rebuilt. Some people don't even realize it was rebuilt in
Yeah,
2002, and we kind of go over that. And we have a little discussion of the history of the church and how the Nauvoo restoration group came back and started restoring the properties and some of the things to do. Whether your viewers come here or not to our historic museum here, our stories museum, I always send people to down to the sites. We call them down to the church sites, and there's a free wagon ride, and it's narrated. And on Sundays it's 12 to 5, and I believe they're open on Sundays, but Monday through Saturday it's 9 a.m. they start, and they go all day, and it's everything here in town is no charge.
that's wonderful.
Even have a site called the Flood Museum, which is a block off Mulholland here, and that's popular, and they've changed their pricing to free as well, like us. So there's a lot of things to do and see if people come to Nauvoo, and we hope to see in your viewers or their friends, relatives, or anybody that they know that's coming. Please have them text their friends and come see us. We have quite a few more stories. We've talked about some of them in the past. Um, People who are really into church history are interested to know that the Nauvoo Expositor newspaper uh, used to was in a building that was right through the wall here, and
Right.
so we've got some historic locations as well as some historic stories. So
Now,
that's what
am I
that's our
remembering
update.
correctly? Did you tell me at one point that you'd actually found some type, or was that you were
No, I'm
hoping to?
waiting to find some
You're waiting
type.
to find some type
It is
in
right
the
through
street
there.
outside. Yeah,
We've got a
beautiful.
rift drain right on the edge there, and I've been kind of, well, it's a long story. Yeah, no, it's right out here where
Would you
they dump.
mind? Are you able to pick up your phone and go outside and
Mhm.
and uh, show what the building looks like from outside so people can easily
Absolutely.
recognize it?
Yes, sir. I'm going to have to play here just a second and see if I can reverse my camera. Thought I had it. Yeah. So it's a little rainy day here.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to come across. We have the old Hotel Nauvoo that was extremely popular with people who have come for many years, and they just closed up without really any notice. And it's very
That
um,
is quite odd.
Foster newspaper used to be where this building was with the green on it, and then we're
Yeah,
here uh,
right there.
with
Beautiful.
the
And
martyrdom.
the temple is where? Point your camera toward the temple.
Right, you can see the
Oh, you
top.
can see the steeple of it right over the tops of the buildings there. And then look, stop, show us the Martyrdom Stories Museum, free admission. He died as a martyr. Wonderful. That's great. Well done, Brian.
Well, thank you, and we love doing this. And I'm going to step back in, and we love doing it as our donation to help spread the stories, the restoration,
Yeah.
and we've had people come in with some pretty amazing conversion stories, and I'll just leave it at that. We had one last night that was just left us all in tears. It was just great.
Oh, that's marvelous.
The church is growing. The church is true whether it's growing or not.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the church
And,
is true. Yes.
and
Great.
it's great to be a part. That's what I've got for you. Anything else, David?
That's it. That's
Let's be
it.
in
I
touch,
just
okay?
wanted to give a shout out to what's going on in Nauvoo since we're 6 days away from the martyrdom. Do you happen to have there uh, the anti-slavery platform of Joseph Smith
Yeah,
that he had in 1844? Can you
yes.
read that to us? I think that is do you have it somewhere where you can read or no?
Not
Because
really. I've
that
got,
is an absolutely,
well, let
it's
me tell you.
it's little known, and it should be known because I think that's really one of the primary reasons why he was martyred.
Yeah.
He
So,
he was so far ahead of his time. Uh, 14 years later, in 1858, uh, Lincoln, when he was campaigning, when he was doing the debates and stuff like that, the Lincoln Douglas debates, he was nowhere near supporting the kind of thing that Joseph Smith had to say 14 years earlier.
so what I just showed you was a reprint of the basically the presidential platform pamphlet. Um,
Hmm.
the church was sending out not only religious missionaries, but they were sending out political missionaries to the major cities and having big meetings in the major convention halls at the time and explaining General Smith's views on government. That's what the pamphlet is called here. Let me give you a recap of the slavery issue. You've got to remember that we were almost on the frontier here in Nauvoo. Across Iowa was a territory. Missouri had become a state. The government had a lot of land from the Louisiana Purchase and other things going west here. The
Yeah,
slaveholders, this is repugnant to our sensibilities today, but the slaveholders in the South viewed their slaves as their property, just like they would, a horse or a house, or hopefully with more respect than that. But they spent money on that investment, and
sure.
you just take their property away from them. That was repugnant to them, and so that was theft in their mind. So Joseph had this brilliant idea that we should, and by the way, the Northerners didn't want to pay extra taxes to solve the slave question unless they had to. And so the brilliant solution was simply that as the government sold land in Iowa and further west, uh, they could take that money and buy the slaves freedom.
Yeah,
So slaveholders would get financially compensated for their investment. The Northerners, it wouldn't cost them any more taxes because they were getting money from the sale of lands.
yeah,
So it kind of checked all the boxes. The slaves, most importantly, would gain their freedom without any strife with the Southern plantation owners that didn't want to have their property stolen from them, without Northerners having to pay for that extra. So
yeah,
it was way ahead of his time. He the in Illinois, well, in the United States, when in 1840s, you could vote after 6 months of residency. So as we had, converts from basically from the British Isles come into the United States and come here, as well as the Northerners, New England converts and converts from all over the United States, as they came here, Nauvoo became a very important political town. First, as it grew to be the size of Chicago, they say in 1845, 18, it was, we controlled first the county, and then the church would normally or often vote, as most religious groups did, in together, or what they called
sure.
block vote.
Yeah,
And so Nauvoo was starting to decide the fate of statewide elections,
sure.
governor, those type, not only just county elections. And Illinois was starting to get enough political prestige; it could influence the national election, at
Wow.
least be a major player. And then Joseph Smith, as a third party candidate, they created their own party called the Reform Party, and you've got to really start getting, being a lover of church history for that. And I'll save that story and all the others for anybody who will come and see us. Just tell us you
Wonderful.
saw on David Alexander.
Wonderful. That's
I think
nice.
you get in
Nice
the
you
weeds
could prime
really
the
quick.
pump and uh, just let us know a little bit about it. And so people who are interested in that, when they come by, they can ask. Good. All right. Well
All right.
done.
Thanks
Always
for
good.
having me, and you have a good
Always
day.
good to see you, my friend. Say hi to the wife, all right? And happy Father's Day.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.